Everything that we need to do requires energy.
Where does energy come from?
What I've really come around to is that it's not necessarily the energy that we're taking in the form of food. It is, have we or have we not taught our bodies how to use that energy, how to store it properly, how to recruit it properly, how to generate it properly.
Yep.
And that we do through movement. There are days where my brain can just not wrap itself around getting out of the house, putting the shoes on, getting the outfit on. What time are we going to the gym? Who's watching this kid? Where's this kid going to be? What work do I have to get done before I go? Then I have to actually walk out of the house, get in the car, go to the gym and do something.
Welcome to the Higher Form podcast, where high performance meets real life. We talk about how to grow with intention, lead with clarity, and feel strong in every season. Welcome back to the Higher Form podcast. Today, I have an award-winning podcaster with over 10 million downloads, a Wall Street Journal bestselling author of Eat the Yolks, a friend and a client, Mrs. Liz Wolfe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I've been waiting for my turn.
Yeah, you had to wait so long.
I know. Finally we're in here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is like one of those full circle moments in life where you have somebody that you run into who does something that you think is cool, and then you get a chance to learn how to do it yourself, and then they come back around and get into the picture. So thank you for the opportunity to even show me this was like possible. You were a big part in helping us bring this to life.
I love it. Well, I mean, we've got a great team. Both of us do.
Yep.
In the production and all of that. And
shout out to Nate.
Yeah, shout out to Nate. Poor Nate, all the things he's heard me and Jamie talk about in our studio. But no, I think this is amazing. And I think this is such a good medium. I love the medium, the podcast medium, but I think it's great for you too, because you've always been a great communicator. In helping me figure out how to do a move all the way up to how to structure a program.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited that the world gets to hear you this way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit of background. Liz and I met when I was working at Lifetime Fitness many, many years ago. And I still remember the first day she came into the club and somebody was like, hey, this is a client that you're going to want, so you should come meet her. And I was like, hell yeah.
What? Somebody said that?
Yeah. The gal that signed you up. I think her name was Sarah. So shout out to Sarah, wherever you're at now today.
Okay. Thanks, Sarah.
But she had encouraged me to come down and connect with you, and you started training with me, and then it turned into, I got a chance to be on one of your podcast episodes at one point in time. Then the pandemic hit, and I left, and you were like, come train in my garage. So we did that. You've been training with me for over 7 years now, and I think it's been at like 7 different places.
Yeah.
So when you talk about loyalty, she's an OG for sure.
I mean, you earned it.
Yeah,
You know?
I appreciate that.
You and Britt both. It's been a wild, awesome ride through postpartum with my first. I mean, she was probably 2 or 3 when we first started training, and I needed it. I mean, I really needed it. But I was, looking back, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this today, a lot of what was going on in my head and in my nervous system was like telling me, you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
Don't do this. And you probably saw that in some of the questions that I asked you about even personal training in the first place.
Yeah.
Then, you broke down all the walls with talking about the stress and all of these other aspects to wellness, which was really huge for me because that's what I needed. I didn't need somebody to just grind me into the ground. I needed somebody who understood the full picture. But it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So I really want to spend time today diving into energy and stress and the things that happen with women as they age and go through the natural transitions of life. I know that's a big part of what you focus on in your work nowadays. So I think, kicking that off, we wanted to talk a lot about energy and use that as the platform to get us into all the different opportunities to branch out into each specific thing that we felt like was worth addressing.
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want me to give like a little spiel, kind of the way I'm thinking about this these days?
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of a concept that I've been turning over in my head for the longest time. I got into this concept of bioenergetics a long, long time ago. Basically, this idea that everything that we need to do requires energy. And we don't think about it that way. We think about when we're exerting ourselves physically, like in the gym, that we need energy for that. Or if we're super, super tired, or we're just totally fried or totally burnt out, we're like, I have no energy. But when we really think about energy at the ground level, it's literally everything our bodies do and need to do every second of every day. So it's not just, I need energy to work out. It's like, I need energy, literally energy reservoirs to make a decision. Your brain consumes a ton of energy. I believe it's the highest utilization of ATP in your entire body occurs in your brain. You might need to fact check me on that.
It's all right. I'm not here to
Sounds
fact check.
right.
Yeah, and I'll be honest,
Right.
this is something we talk with people a lot, especially when they come in on like the low carb diets.
Oh
And
yeah.
they talk about, being brain fog and being low energy. And I've been on
Mm-hmm.
keto for a while because I'm trying to lose weight and carbs are bad and we shouldn't eat them. But that's something I talk to people about a lot is I'm like, how are you going to function on a daily basis when your brain literally needs sugar to
Mm-hmm.
process? So I'm with you on it.
We've thrown, I mean, I could talk about carbs all day long, especially for women and especially for women in midlife. But one of the things I like to say for those of us who are 40 and beyond, and you might still remember this a little bit, the whole low carb thing is just a recycling with new lipstick
Mm-hmm.
of the low fat thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? We if you do a diet retrospective from the 90s up to today,
Yeah.
it's like low fat, low fat, low fat. And then it's like low protein when we were kind of all like, should we be vegan? Should we go vegetarian?
Yeah.
And then it was low carb, low carb, low carb. It's just a recycling of the same old shit. I don't know
Yeah.
if I can say that.
Oh yeah, for
Sorry. You can
sure.
bleep that out if
I've
you need
even dropped a
to.
couple F-bombs in recent
Okay.
episodes, so we're golden.
Perfect. Same page. I mean, you know me. But it
Yep.
is just we have to have some perspective. And I think that helps. That's what I did with my book that you mentioned earlier. Since you
Yep.
brought it up, I'll bring it up too.
Hey, plug it.
I think it's really powerful to be like, where how did we get here?
Yep.
Because when you're just looking at it through like right now, this year, this decade, you don't always see the path that got us here. And when you see that that path is paved with nonsense, it's a lot easier to be like, this makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not, and we know now too, I believe, I don't know what the kind of the sweet spot is or the opposite of the sweet spot, but the point at which a keto or low carb diet actually starts to not correct insulin resistance, but actually become part of the mechanism that causes insulin
Yeah.
resistance, I think is maybe around 6 months. It
Yep.
is not a long term solution.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, it makes a ton of sense when you start to think about the science behind what happens when you end up with too low of blood sugar or not
Mm-hmm.
enough glycogen or glucose in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
I talk to clients about this. It's probably one of the things that I nerd out with you about early on that was like, oh, this guy actually has an idea of what he's talking about. But it's something I learned from someone else where if you do end up in a position where you're not getting enough carbohydrates, your body's going to start to dip down into some of the nervous system, epinephrine, adrenaline,
Yep.
adrenal,
Stress
stress
hormones.
hormone types of things where you're like,
That's
I
their
need
job.
that. Let's push it back up the chain.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, what was an issue of too much before is now an issue of too little. And it just
Mm-hmm.
goes back to reinforcing the shit around all the extremes,
Yes,
you
it's the
know?
extremes. And it's that stress physiology, which we can give our bodies the carbs that they need so they can pull from it without issue, or we can not give our bodies carbs. And then we can basically require that our body initiates a stress physiology cascade in order to recruit carbs from storage, in order to turn other things in our bodies into carbs.
Yep.
And I think for a while, there were people that were like, hey, this was like in the CrossFit days which I was also, I don't know if you knew this, I've never told you this. I was a CrossFit certified trainer
Yeah,
for
I knew
a
that.
hot minute.
Yeah.
I'm sure
I
we've
remember one of
tackled
the
that.
first pictures that I think I ever saw. Like, I don't even know where this was, but like you were doing an overhead squat with a couple
Oh,
plates on each
yeah.
side. And I was like, this girl knows her shit. She can overhead squat some weight. Like, you must be a
Well, I
CrossFitter.
didn't. I don't, it took one day to get that certification,
Yeah.
maybe two. But, but yeah, way back then when we were talking about, CrossFit and low carb, it was like, no, the body can make carbs from other stuff, gluconeogenesis. Like
Yeah.
our body can create carbs if it needs them. But what is the physiology that gets us there? The point is, it's a stress process. It's
Mm-hmm.
deploying cortisol, it's using your stress hormones, like you
Yep.
said, adrenaline, norepinephrine, all of that. That is what is enabling our body to desperately scavenge glucose in order to function.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just, to me, it seems a little bit easier just to enjoy the carbs, the right carbs,
Yeah.
especially for your brain. Your
Yeah.
brain runs on glucose. Ketones have a place, but we also dip in and out of ketosis throughout the course of the day at different points. You don't have to be doing that all the time.
Yeah. You are also a nutrition therapy practitioner, so
Mm-hmm.
you're going to hear Liz talk about all the science. She's always really smart and well spoken. So sometimes I'm like, don't judge me by the words that I use. I do have the knowledge, I just don't articulate them maybe as well. But the simplest way I can think about that I tell people all the time is what sense and in what world does it make sense to cut out an entire food group from the way that you eat and call that a diet?
I know.
It's just crazy to me.
But it's easy.
That's
Quick,
true.
it's easy, it's digestible
Mm-hmm.
for, making puns. And that you and I talk about this all the time. The problem in the health and wellness world today is that we lack nuance.
Mm-hmm.
But what that leads to is not simplification. It leads to us throwing a bunch of like spaghetti against the wall,
Yep.
like this really simple spaghetti, this really, and then over and over again, we're failing. And it's
Yep.
because we're not bringing nuance and individuality into the conversation. And that's why I always liked working with you, because I feel like you have always done that.
Well, I try to look at things from through a broad lens
Mm-hmm.
and not get too narrow and find that balance of simplicity, but also like looking at the bigger picture too.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's so much nuance out there. I think it's easy to get lost in all the different things and the catchiness and the trends and
Yeah.
what my neighbor got that worked for her or him or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Where does energy come from?
I mean, we obviously it comes from food.
Yeah.
We know that. We know people know what a calorie is. People understand that what we eat fuels our bodies. We get that. But what I've really come around to, and I don't know why it took me this long, what I've really come around to is that it's not necessarily the energy that we're taking in the form of food. It is, have we or have we not taught our bodies how to use that energy,
Mm-hmm.
how to store it properly, how to recruit it properly, how to generate it properly.
Yep.
And that we do through movement, just movement. And that's why I've sort of come around lately. I know we like to talk to people about food and fitness,
Yeah.
but my starting point with people now has 100% evolved into the movement category.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're not teaching our bodies what to do with energy, we're at a deficit anyway.
Yeah.
You could be really low energy. You could be really high, frenetic, frantic, like cortisol energy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what end of the spectrum that you're at. You still have to think about teaching your body to use energy properly so that you can feel good, so that you can go about your daily life. And again, what we were talking about at the beginning is that it doesn't just take energy to work out. It takes energy to think. It takes energy to have patience with your family.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think about that. When you're at the end of your rope, that's an energy thing. You have no more energy left for patience, for collaboration,
Yeah.
for love, for any of that.
Yep.
And so that's what we're dealing with. And if we're not teaching our bodies how to manage energy, the energy that we take in, then we're bankrupt. We're done.
Absolutely nailed it. I talked with a friend of mine who's a chiropractor. His name is Brandon Reed. He
Mm-hmm.
owns Trajectory Spine and Strength, and I was on
Is this
a
the mustache?
yeah, it's a mustache
Saw a
guy.
clip.
Yeah,
I like the mustache.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked in the clip, and it might be the one that you're referencing, is healthy parents are better parents.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
And his whole thing was like not sitting here trying to talk about parenting styles, but if you take somebody who is objectively healthy and who is objectively not,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the difference in how well they're able to handle the stresses of parenthood,
Yep.
but you talk about everything from your ability to nurture relationships and to be able to make decisions and be productive
Yep.
at work, it makes so much sense. And another thing that I thought was really cool that you're leaning into, and we try to manage with the way that we coach, is using energy systems as a part of the framework for how we do our different types of training.
Mm.
So, for example, tapping into different types of training that's going to allow us to be more focused on aerobic energy systems versus anaerobic
Oh,
energy
right.
systems versus creatine phosphate systems. So when you think about the next layer of movement, number
Yeah.
one, you're talking about starting to stimulate energy production and utilization and tapping into it right with movement. There's so much more that you can get into. And I think that's where heart rate training and using
Mm-hmm.
a heart rate
Mm-hmm.
device is also beneficial for people
Which
who
you
want to
keep
get
trying to
techy.
get me to do, and I
Hey,
keep not bringing
I
my
think
strap
the
in.
only key is we just have to hang it on the wall here, which we've done with many people. So
That's an energy thing too, though.
yeah,
That's what you have the bandwidth for
yeah,
is an energy thing. And naturally in life, some things you're going to have to be like, you know what? That's just not going to be
for
my
sure.
thing.
Not everybody can get every box
Right.
checked, you
Yeah.
know,
But maybe someday
including you.
I'll have the energy to bring to just to keep that top
It
of
wasn't
mind.
intended to be a dig. Maybe it was a little bit, but no, it's one of those things where I do think too that people don't understand. Even without a heart rate monitor, you can manage intensity just through the way that you breathe and
Yeah.
looking more internally around like how much energy am I putting out, and just being self-aware of what type of energy you're either breeding or utilizing in a scenario. So, for
Mm.
example, we can go out and do something that's relatively high intensity, and you can use your breath as a simple awareness tool instead of going through and using a heart rate monitor device and have the tech
Yeah.
involved too, you know?
Yeah, I love that because I do think we kind of outsource a lot of our agency to tech. I
Yeah,
mean, we've got the Aura rings, we've got the sleep trackers,
I'm
we've
as
got all of
guilty as
that.
anybody is because I love the data.
That's right. And you're a data guy. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times people will look at that and as kind of a pass fail. They'll look at whatever their stats were from
Yeah.
overnight and they'll be like, "Oh shoot, I'm screwed."
Hmm.
Rather than being like, this is how I'm feeling.
Hmm.
Let me confirm that, or kind of see what's underneath that with my wellness tech. So instead of letting it kind of ruin your whole day,
Yep.
it's just data. It's another data point that you can work with.
Yeah, for sure. When you talk about movement sparking energy, how does that fit in with food? When I hear you say that, and I'm someone who is anywhere on the energy spectrum, how do I start to make actionable steps towards tapping into using movement versus food as my first step? Because I know you said that you've come around to like, yeah, obviously you understand the value of what you're taking in being an energy source, but
Yeah.
tapping into utilizing and building momentum and getting it mobilized, I think is kind of how you mentioned it.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer that from the perspective of someone who is just totally new to all of this. Maybe somebody that doesn't work out consistently, somebody that knows they need to change, but they've tried a million different things and
Hmm.
you always end up in the same place. That's kind of my person. Those
Yep.
are those are the people that I really love talking to. And I think the most compelling way to get people started is understanding that when you take in energy, when you eat something, you can immediately start teaching your body how to use it by just walking.
Hmm.
Something really simple like that, walking around the block. You can do, not even walking, you can do calf raises.
Yeah.
You can do little things that are actually bigger in the physiological map of your body than we might think, right? We don't think of our calf muscles as something that's all that important, but really they're almost like your second heart.
Yeah.
They're
I
responsible
love that
for
you brought this up.
I love that. They're responsible for so much of your circulation, of, sending things back up, for resisting gravity, all of that. And so if you are just walking or doing some calf raises right after a meal, you're actually telling your body, here's what to do with all of these nutrients that you've just taken in.
Hmm.
And when you teach your body what to do with them when you take them in, you are also kind of in the same way teaching your body how to get them back out,
Hmm.
how to use them as energy, and how to kind of gift you with the capabilities of all the nutrients that you've taken in. Because food is not just carbs, fat, and protein. It's also nutrients,
Hmm.
spark plugs, minerals, all of that stuff.
Yep.
So I think that's a really homed in way to look at it. You really zoom in on exactly what you're doing and when and how it can really benefit you and how simple it is. You don't have to go do an hour-long resistance training session.
Hmm.
No fault of anybody's. I love that the conversation on social media right now is so oriented toward you've got to be resistance training. You have to
We
do
literally just recorded an episode about the foundational things for strength training. Yeah.
It's huge. It is really, really important,
Yep.
but you have to work up to it.
Hmm.
And little things matter. We say that, but we don't believe it.
Hmm.
But little things really, really do matter and they add up really fast.
Speaking of walking, because you mentioned that a second ago, and it just like bing,
Yeah.
helped me bring something back to the table that I recognized over the last couple of years. You've been very much more intentional about walking.
Yeah.
You've got the walking pads. I know
Yep.
you're walking around the neighborhood that you live in more frequently. I don't know that it's something that we really talked about a ton, or if I was ever like, hey, you need to do this or this. I know
Yeah.
I've definitely poked at you about like, hey, you got to do some more low intensity work because
Yes, you have.
you do like to get after it. And we've talked about that previously, but I don't know when that switch changed for you where it was like, I'm going to just take a walk around the lake. I'm going to start walking on a walking pad. And I don't know that I really recognize the shift until recently where I'm like, you walk a ton, or
I
at least
do.
it seems like you walk a lot more. And I know you've also seen changes in your own personal health too. And I think that the walking piece of that has been probably an underrated aspect of what's given you the results have received more recently.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I do think, my walking guru is Katie Bowman. She's somebody who's been on my podcast many times. She's Nutritious Movement. She's amazing. She's this biomechanist and she's very just steeped in the natural movement world.
Yeah.
Her wisdom is incredible. So it's funny, you become aware of something and it can take years for you to actually apply
Hmm.
it. And this was one of those things. But I think what really gave me and this isn't a Katie Bowman thing because Katie Bowman is very much like get outside and move your body, like the natural biomechanics. You cannot replicate the biomechanics of walking on natural surfaces outside,
Yep.
like on a treadmill.
Yep.
But still, sorry, Katie, I have to say, what really hammered this home for me was getting my walking pad,
Yep.
having a standing desk, a walking desk,
Yep.
because there are days where my brain can just not wrap itself around getting out of the house. And again, this is an energy thing. This is the place I'm at in my life and I'm working on it.
Yeah.
My brain cannot wrap itself around putting the shoes on, getting the outfit on. What time are we going to the gym? Who's watching this kid? Where's this kid going to be? What work do I have to get done before I go? Then I have to actually walk out of the house, get in the car, go to the gym and do something.
Yep.
That is a task cascade. That is
Yeah.
not one thing. That is a lot of little things.
Yep.
And there's ways to hack that. But for me, just having my walking pad there and knowing that I can walk when I could be sitting
Yeah.
has been huge. And on the times, you know me, there are times when I just kind of get in a rut. And if we're not working out together,
Yep.
or if you're not, training me, there are
Yep.
times when I really do get in a rut for a week or two at a time.
Yep.
Just being able to take that step in my own home, 2 inches away, it is probably the lowest investment, the lowest energy tax that I could possibly use to keep me moving. I walked an hour today because I know I'm not going to be able to go to the gym.
Yep.
I was doing some podcast edits and I walked.
Yep.
So that's been huge.
Well, I think it's good because you're talking about setting something in place that is a bare necessity of you making a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But giving you the bare minimum. I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. You talk about the cascade of tasks.
Yeah.
That's the reason people say that the hardest part is getting in the door at the gym is because of all the things that you discussed. And if you can't get there, what is the bare minimum? Is it 15 push-ups? Is it 25 squats? Is it a few burpees? Is it walking on your walking pad?
Yeah.
That's actually something I've struggled with a lot lately too, is when you're really dialed in one area of your life, work, family, whatever it might be, being able to turn around and say, I'm down 3,000 steps. How do I get those in? Is a hell of a lot easier when you can habit stack that with something like working or like a standing desk or a walking pad at home or watching TV and walking. So I'm mentally decompressing and physically while I'm moving in a way decompressing as well too. So it's funny. I was literally just telling Brittany the other day, I was like, I think I'm finally ready to pull the trigger on a walking pad because I want to hang out around the boys, but we're all just kind of like lounging. And I'm like, I don't want to sit right now. I sat all day and I worked on stuff. I want to move. I got to move, but getting up and putting them in a stroller and then being like, well, if I don't take the dogs and they sit at home all day, then I feel bad. You know what I mean?
Dog guilt thing. What is that?
That dog guilt is real.
It's real.
Yeah. They were like our first babies though.
Yeah.
So I feel bad enough that they don't get any attention now. We feed them. They have a beautiful home. They get to play outside.
They're happy.
They're
They
happy,
have each
but
other.
I'm not as happy for what they have as what I think they could have.
Sure.
If that makes any sense. But
Of course.
dog guilt is real.
Dog guilt is very real.
You've also had to recognize that you have to create the right environment for yourself to build in accountability around staying consistent with moving. How have you gone around creating the right structure, support, environment, routine? You have been so consistent, but that didn't come on accident, and it wasn't something that wasn't intentional and very well designed and sought out for.
Yeah, this is another thing that really kind of blew my mind. Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies framework. And basically what she discusses is these kind of 4 different, I guess you could call them personality types that relate to how you respond to expectations, which is very useful when you're talking about accountability. Now, I'm kind of working on a framework, a similar framework. It kind of builds upon it for this exact thing, for actual consistency and accountability, factoring in something that Gretchen Rubin doesn't factor in, which there would be no reason for her to have done so, the state of the nervous system. So I think that is one thing I think I've been missing. I think it's the missing piece. Like, I feel like I've got the food knowledge, I've got the fitness knowledge, it's the nervous system knowledge, which is basically kind of wrapping its arms around what we even manage to do for reasons that we don't even consciously know.
Yep.
So I'm kind of working on a framework around consistency and accountability, and I'll share that with you when I have it kind of more nailed down. I think you'll like it. But the idea that you have 4 different types of ways to respond to expectations. There is the rebel, there is the questioner, there's the upholder, and there's the obliger.
Yep.
And understanding that I am at my core an obliger, which means for me to be accountable, to respond to expectations, I'm going to need outside accountability and not just signing up for a gym membership. For some people, spending the money will get you there. That's not me.
Yep.
It's not group fitness. It's not a group waiting on me. It is one person, and that was you, waiting on me to show up. That's how my accountability mind works. And And that was really important for me. And that changed everything. That really did change everything. Now, the obliger and the questioner is the person that needs to know everything. I'm sure you've had people like this in your office who are
Oh
like,
my
I
goodness.
can't sign up until I ask you 50 billion questions, and then I still won't sign up.
Yesterday.
That's a nervous system thing.
Hmm.
When you cannot take that step that you know is good for you, that you know there's room in your budget for, and you just can't do it when you're asking question after question, that is the nervous system looking for profound certainty that does not exist. And they will never get out of that loop until they develop the self awareness to be able to pull themselves out of that state and say, I'm rerouting, I'm doing something different here. The obliger is similar in a nervous system in that I'm kind of outsourcing my certainty to someone else. It ends up being a little bit more functional and a little bit
Yeah.
more helpful because at least I managed to get here.
Yep.
And then with the upholder, that's my husband, he sets his own expectations and he meets them. So we
Yep.
don't worry so much about upholders.
Yep.
And then there is the rebel. We also can't really worry too much about them because they're going to do what they're going to do anyway.
Yeah.
But those are kind of these different ways to conceptualize accountability and consistency and figure out what's going to get you there. Because it's not just like, oh, it's my job, I'm too tired. Yeah, it's all of those things, but it's also how do you actually respond to expectations?
Hmm.
Are they internal? Is it external? What can you find in your environment that's actually going to stimulate that accountability to actually show up for yourself?
So many people lack the ability to focus on the energy it takes to even recognize that. Like when you
Yeah.
talk about this is an energy thing,
Yep.
to have the energy to understand that there's a reason you feel the way that you do, and there are tendencies that other people have that are like you,
Hmm.
and there is structure and framework and an environment and support.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the wherewithal or take the time to slow down enough and intentionally direct your energy to figuring those things out, I see this so much. You will be stuck in the loop forever. And it's just crazy because I think that if most people who are struggling to find what works would just force themselves to slow down enough to create a space where they could actually be intentional about assessing, looking internally, becoming more self-aware, and starting to think about what they actually need versus what society tells them they need or what they saw their friend or their neighbor or Instagram telling them, so many people would be able to set themselves up for success, at least the next step of what that would look like.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot. Like the nature of my job at this point and what I do now, I used to train a lot. I don't train a ton now. Most of my job is managing people
Hmm.
and helping people commit to their health and fitness journey and giving them an opportunity to make that come to life. So if there's one thing I can say I experience a lot, that is 100% it.
Well, it's like it's hard because I mean you can't give them a full education on like their nervous system and how their brain is trying to protect them from
Yeah, and
something
how weird
new.
does that sound if I'm like, I know that you're not sure about this, but your nervous system's fucked. So let me just help you out real quick. Let's just rewire that. And they're
Let me
like,
just
who
tell
is
your
this
nervous
guy?
system what's that.
Yeah.
It's such protection, and I think what people don't realize is that whatever we have been doing is what our body is going to fight to keep
Yep.
at tooth and nail. And it
Because
takes
it's familiar. It's
it's
comfortable.
familiar, it's safe.
Yep.
We know we're alive, we're here. We might not be in our greatest state of health, but taking any kind of risk out of this comfortable place, our bodies, our brains, our nervous systems are going to be like, I don't think so. And that takes a lot of energy
Hmm.
to reroute. It takes intentionality, it takes energy, it takes willingness, and it takes plugging yourself into an accountability framework of some kind so that you can do the things you need to do repeatedly and rewire that nervous system. Show your nervous system that it is safe on this new path. I think for me, that probably took several years. I would never have considered myself a person that works out, a person that finds fitness to be important.
Yeah, now you're
That
a
wasn't
trainer and
me.
you're helping other people with it, and it's come
Exactly.
a long ways.
And that was the process.
Yep.
I figured out the accountability piece, I think, before I even realized that I figured it was almost by accident that
Hmm.
I kind of stumbled upon that. Not everybody can afford to do one-on-one training like I did, but there are ways to structure accountability so that you can get enough reps, right? It's all about the reps. Like
Yeah,
get enough
get your
reps at
10,000
something.
hours.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's start to peel that back just a little bit because I think there's layers to progressing through this as well. I even see this with clients we have that have maybe gone far enough to get them into something moving closer to the right direction, a better habit, a better routine. I think a lot of people go through the process of actively attempting to live a healthier lifestyle and see progress and results and create better outcomes, but yet maybe they're doing the thing but not getting the result even too. Because
Sure.
that's a whole nother crowd of people. How do you help? There's two different types of people, or how do you guide the two different types of people? Number one, I think we kind of touched base on it a little bit. The person who maybe doesn't have any sort of structure or
Hmm.
momentum built, but maybe the other person who has the momentum of the action and the habit, but they haven't really refined what's going to get them the ideal result.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned a couple times, like, it's taken me years to do this. It's taken me years to do this. You are doing a lot to lead up to that. And if you hadn't been doing the prerequisite things, the ultimate outcomes would have never happened or come around. So it's almost like you break through one layer of getting the action started,
Mm.
another layer of seeing a certain level of results, another layer. And every time you move up, whether it's like, I don't know, I think of like beating the next boss in a video game, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's obviously something that you have to commit to. I remember, I think maybe we were working out together for 2, 3 years before I was ever like, I think I might want to work on some body composition stuff.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing was, and again, this is one of those things that I don't think I even realized the power of what I was doing or that I was doing it in the moment, but I gave myself time. I honestly, I kind of gave up before I first came to Lifetime and met you. I had washed my hands of all of the fitness stuff that I had done up until then.
Mm-hmm.
All of the back and forth, the falling off the wagon, the climbing back on a new wagon, the jumping on this trend, the this and the that. I had washed my hands of that. I was like, I'm a mom now. I just want to be healthy for my kid.
Yep.
None of that worked, and I don't think it's ever going to work. So I'm just going to try to do the best thing for my body. I want to feel good. I want to feel confident. I want to feel capable. And I feel like that's the foundation we started on.
Yep.
So that was the right foundation. But I didn't put a time limit on that, or I didn't put a time stamp on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just in it. I was in the process with no end in sight. And I think people feel like that's heavy. People feel like maybe they can't process this never-ending journey, but that's what it is. That's life in general. There is no point in life, well, there is a point in life where it's over, we're done.
Yeah, but
Hopefully, we all have many years ahead of us. What else are we going to do with that time? What better use of that time than to just keep moving? Just keep moving. Keep doing your best. Keep showing up.
yep.
It's going to look different at different stages of life. That's just the way it is. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be family issues. There's going to be things where you dip in and dip out. But as long as that's kind of your North Star, all we have is time, hopefully.
Yeah.
So rather than constantly being like, I want this by this time, or that didn't work, I gave it 6 weeks and it didn't work, why not just keep engaging in the evolution? I think that was probably like the secret sauce for
Mm-hmm.
me.
I love that because you answered the question for everybody at every stage of the journey in one perspective.
Hmm.
Give yourself an opportunity to chase whatever the focus is in the moment and don't put these expectations on
Yeah,
certain things happening in certain time frames. We see that a lot too, especially in the fitness industry. There's so much marketing around like get fit in 6 weeks or 12 weeks. And like we have to do that because it's a part of what we have to do to get people interested. And that's the thing that kind of sucks about it is you have to play on some of the things that are out there and find that balance of what's going to give people an opportunity to
sure.
feel like it's easy and get them in the door, but then also give them a little bit of what they want and then a heavy dose of what they need in a way that they can buy into it long term,
Totally.
and kind of tweak and change.
That's kind of why I like the idea of benchmarks rather than goals.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes,
it's like, what's the next benchmark?
yes.
Not like I have this one goal, it's to lose 50 pounds or to whatever it is.
That's a step along the way because what
Yeah.
happens after you get there?
Yeah.
And if that's the outcome that you're looking for, and everything has been geared around that, and there are no other measures of success, you will get complacent when you get there, and then all
Yep.
of a sudden you stop what you're doing to get you there, and you start reverting back to who you were before.
Which, by the way, is your nervous system, is your brain. It's all of those things reverting back to whatever was the most safe for a period of time. I follow some researchers in obesity, and one of them recently was talking about how it takes your body potentially like 2 years or more to adjust your weight set point. So this is why, like, you lose weight if you don't keep it off for a period of time, it generally just comes right back on, at least a pretty decent percentage
Yeah,
of
you gotta
it.
keep chasing the habit.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we talk about sweet spots for developing habits, certain periods of time, but I have no idea what the literature says about the actual that moment where your nervous system and your body says, okay, this is the new normal.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And I don't know if we ever get there.
Yeah.
But that's why you have to figure out a way to be accountable. You have to just figure out a way to get those basics in. And again, I'm not a fitness person. I wish I was. I
You
never
are
have
more of a
been.
fitness person than you are not.
Now, more now than I
Yeah.
ever was before. But coming as somebody who doesn't live in the gym, I haven't always been certified as a personal trainer. I haven't always been any of this. So coming from someone who probably the odds were stacked against in at least some ways,
Hmm.
I can say that I think that's probably the key is that you develop that accountability, you set some benchmarks for fun, and you just anticipate that you keep going.
You just cannot stop. You just got to keep going,
Yep.
even though it may look different. And I think that's one of the hardest things too that you talk to women about a lot and you speak about a lot is the natural changes that happen as you enter midlife
Yeah.
and you have
Jesus Christ.
premenopausal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, and not only that, but all the psychological changes as you go through the different stages of motherhood and having
Mhm.
kids at different ages, all things that I can't necessarily relate with. I think that you are the perfect person to ask because of how much time you spend focusing on learning and coaching other women with these things. How do you help women that are navigating those changes or at least starting to see some of that stuff come to life?
Well, I can never make stuff simple, so I'm sorry. But we said at the beginning, I think we're missing a lot of nuance. So
Yeah.
that's what this, right? Long form is for nuance. I think I'm not even going to answer the question. I'm going to bring in an entirely different thing. And that is I feel like in your late 30s into your early 40s, the the thing that really shows up as the biggest challenge is stress. And I hate this conversation because I think it can be so disingenuous because people are like, yeah, you're stressed. Like, whatever program I gave you, it's not working because you're stressed. You haven't dealt with your stress, you know? And it's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I haven't, so
Yeah, of
you
course I'm stressed. I have two kids,
obviously,
a job, a marriage,
mortgage,
a mortgage.
finances, aging parents,
Yeah.
like, it's wild.
Yeah,
Your
that's another
kids
one
start
too.
to get self sufficient and then your parents start to need you more.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And around this time, I feel like is when we are taking on more than we've ever taken on before. We're like frogs in the boiling water because it's just compounded and compounded over time. And like when you have little kids, the sleep deprivation is real. It absolutely is. But there is a deep, like, resonance to the kind of chronic stress that builds over time from jobs, finances. And when I talk to people, I don't ask them, I've said this before in various places. I don't ask people if you have a stressful job or if you have relationship issues or whatever. I'm just like, you got a job? Check. Like, that's stress. You've got a family? Check. That's stress. You
Yep.
can love something so much and it can still tax you mentally and physically. And I
Hmm.
don't mean this to be like a doomsday, like there's nothing you can do. There are things you can do, which are not like taking a bath and meditating. Those, I hate that advice. It drives me freaking nuts because what stress have you ever solved, like really gotten to the root of by sitting in a pot of hot water?
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like it gives you a chance to take a break from it, but it all comes right back as soon as you get out of the
It
bath.
all comes
Like,
right. And if you're a mom, you've got kids like knocking down your door, like, it's
yeah,
like, dad's in the kitchen. Why did you not ask your dad?
because they don't want dad, they want
Because they
mom.
don't want dad. Yes, water is soothing, warm water is calming, all of that, but I've
And
never
you could,
once gotten out of the bath and been like, problem solved.
yeah, you could go down a
Never.
whole rabbit hole of all the different trends of stress management and all
Yep.
the gimmicky things. And while some of them make a lot of sense in certain scenarios, stress management isn't as simple as just plugging in this one
No.
recovery modality for 30 minutes. Sure, it helps with the bigger picture, but I like my side of it, or at least from the way I understand what you're saying and the way I see it, that's another one of those habits that you throw in to try to stimulate the bigger picture. And if that's not
Hmm.
done consistently, that's not going to help at all. But to your point, even then, if it is done consistently, it doesn't negate all the stress that you have in your life.
No. And the other thing that people will recommend is stuff like do gentle yoga or do meditation. Great. One more thing for me to feel shitty about not fitting into my
Yeah.
day. Like, and then that adds stress, especially to people who want to do what's best for themselves. And so that
Yeah. Do
bothers
more
me
to
too.
stress less seems very counterintuitive.
Exactly. And some people, depending on kind of your particular brand of anxiety, can experience heightened anxiety when you
Hmm.
try to quiet your mind. So, my thing is, we have to acknowledge the stress. We have to acknowledge the fact that it's probably worse than it's ever been. But we also, I was talking to my friend, I was talking to Jamie, my podcast co
Mhm.
host, the other day. I was like, your 30s are the time to be gentle on yourself. Your 40s are the time to be like, let's figure this out because it's never going to get easier and there's never going to be a better time.
Yeah.
You want time with your family, you want a healthy life, you want to be able to do all the things that you want to do with this second chapter.
Yeah.
Like, get yourself together. But as far as the stress question goes, we acknowledge it and then we modify the stressors that we choose. We can't really do anything about the financial stress in the moment. We can't give our kids back. We wouldn't want to.
Yep.
All of these stressors, again, so many of them we love and we care about them, our families, jobs that we love, but that tax us physically, people that we love that tax us mentally. We don't want to get rid of those things. There's a conversation around boundaries, which is fine, but I think it's a little bit lacking because, we can't always just say like you are hampering my ability to live in a
Stress
stress-free
free.
state,
Yeah.
so I'm going to cut you off. You can't do that. People need us.
Yep.
And so my thing is, let's negotiate the stressors that we choose. And those stressors are fitness and food. So, how are we stressing ourselves with food? And how are we stressing ourselves with fitness or lack thereof?
Yep.
And how can we line those up to give us the best chance possible to live a little healthier? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. What I hear from that is improve your tolerance
Yeah.
and improve your ability to handle it.
And it's kind of different from
So
person to
that's the same
person.
thing. Sorry. Improve your tolerance and improve your capacity.
It's that, and it's what we talked about at the beginning. And depending on your personality, it can be a little bit different. So if you're a person that has like fully bought into the 90s hype of like working out more, working out as much as you possibly can, and eating as little as you possibly can,
Yep.
you are stressing yourself with
Yep.
a lack of nutrition and over fitnessing.
Yep.
And so we need to reverse that and we need to pull back on those stressors and we need to get you in a more balanced food and fitness profile.
Yep.
If you are the person that does nothing because you're just frozen and you don't know what you should be doing and it all feels like too much, we need to kind of elevate you into a better fitness and food profile.
Yep.
The other thing that stresses us, especially as women, is a lack of carbs. A lack of abundant energy to the body signals the body. This is about stressors and it's about signals. It signals to the body that you're not safe, which drives up stress hormones,
Yep.
which puts you in a stress state, which also downregulates your metabolism. We know this, I think, fairly with fair amount of certainty that a very short period of stress can actually downregulate your metabolic rate.
Yeah.
And that stress would be, we know that calorie restriction does that.
Yep.
And so you're constantly fighting uphill. So that's what I mean by kind of modifying those stressors that we choose and making sure, stressors can be a good thing if used properly.
Yeah.
So what are you increasing your tolerance to? We don't
Yep.
want to increase your tolerance to the out of control stress
Yeah. Yeah.
profile
Yeah.
because there's a very, you'll hit a wall with that. But if we can give ourselves some carbs, signal some safety, rest properly, and then apply exercise, the stimulus of exercise properly, I think we can get a lot more mileage out of that than just feeling like, God, I need to meditate. I need to take a bath. I need to cut
Yeah.
my mom out of my life, all of that.
Yeah. And I think that there's probably a little bit of truth in some situations to some of those things.
Sure.
I very much am like an analytical framework type of person. So when I think of this, I think of the thing that we really like rooted what we do at Avexia in. Avexia meaning wellness in Greek.
Mm-hmm.
This umbrella of managing stress and being able to look at things from a perspective of what is going to intentionally increase our stress capacity and tolerance. It's
Mm-hmm.
what I was trying to say short earlier, but
Resilience, increase
your
in
resilience,
resilience. Yeah.
correct. Being able to do exercise to increase your resilience to stress,
Mm-hmm.
being able to get movement to help circulate and manage stress, to be able to get the right amount of sleep, the right amount of hydration, the right amount of nutrition, to be able to recover from stress and support the overwhelm that is inevitable in some of our lives, and
Yep.
trying to figure out how you move the needle on the dial on each one of those things to create this perfect balance, which we've said multiple times will look different for different people
Yeah.
depending on where they're at in each portion of their life. Then you also mentioned too about how not doing that is going to affect different aspects of how your body operates physiologically. If somebody is overstressed and has a bunch of pressure on their adrenal system,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to counterbalance with the way that their other hormones are going to be operating too. Have you heard of a doctor talk? I can't remember the guy's name. He talks about the oat axis, the
No.
ovarian hormones,
Oh, sure.
adrenal hormones, thyroid hormones, and how they really create this like checks and balances system.
Yeah.
So if you look at the big picture of those three things and you're going through some type of menopausal period of your life, on top of all the stresses of midlife, and on top of starving the shit out of yourself, no wonder you're going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
But if you can go through and you can dial in what you can control of those things, supporting a better metabolism through proper eating habits, supporting better stress management through exercise and sleep, supporting better hormonal patterns by strength training and doing the right things there. Just everything comes back full circle to what you're doing with your lifestyle, and making sure that you're intentionally putting your energy to the things that are going to create that balance, you
Yeah.
know?
And by the way, when you're in those scenarios, those really stressful scenarios, it is not a coincidence that we crave carbs. Carb cravings are our bodies basically asking us, are we safe? Like,
Yep.
do we have the energy to get through this moment in time? So it's not a surprise that when you're super stressed, really in acute stress, but also chronic stress, I think a lot of us experience this as well, that you're craving carbs and nothing else will do.
I need fast energy. And that's where it comes back full circle. If stress is going to require more energy to navigate,
Yep.
so where am I going to get fast energy? It is from carbohydrates.
100%.
So it makes perfect sense when you look at it from like a mechanism standpoint.
Yeah,
Man, we covered a lot.
I know.
And
We're
I feel
good.
like
We know how to talk for an hour.
yeah, we've talked for many hours.
Wow. Yep.
But I think we covered most of the things that we wanted to touch base on.
Nice.
And I really just want to circle back to thank you for the opportunity to even getting to this point, because I never thought I would have a podcast, but I never really knew what that would look like. And I remember being like, man, I'd love to really just sit and talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
When you start to chase different goals, for me, it was like, how can I do this on my own and be my own boss? And when you start seeing progress there, I'm very much a what's next type of person. And I think the thing that has always been missing, and you talked about this being a good medium, is a place to really sit down and just shoot the shit about the things that I have been so passionate about over the years. And I really never would have thought that it was even potentially possible until I had the opportunity to see you do it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Listen, I sometimes take a longer and more winding road toward getting to the places I want to go. But I know when Nick says he's going to do something, that's exactly what's going to happen. You built the
Appreciate that.
gym, you were doing the podcast, and just, I've learned so much from you. So I'm excited that you're doing this.
It's been a mutually beneficial partnership, I
Yeah.
would say, for sure.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? What are you doing? What are you working on right now?
All right, so I'm going to send people. I'm in the process of changing my Instagram handle. I got the blue check mark way back in the
So
day.
this has been on Instagram since like what, 2000 and
12, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. And this was back when they had to give you the blue check mark and you didn't know if you were
Oh,
going to
you
get
earned
it.
yours. You didn't pay for it.
I did not pay for my blue check mark. And so I'm having a little trouble changing the handle with the whole check mark situation, which is fine, but I'll send people to my new website, which is reallizwolfe.com, and you'll be able to get everywhere that you need to go from there.
Love it.
Yeah.
Anything particular that you're working on or anything that you're excited about doing that you want to
Yes.
share?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Again, I'm kind of fleshing out and developing a framework for getting your energy back, especially for women 40 plus. And the idea is you need to do the right kind of movement and you need to do it consistently. And my job is to make sure people are choosing the right type of movement and to give them the tools to do that repeatedly over time so they can actually get that energy back. And not just like, I don't want to be dragging my ass out of bed, but like I have the energy for patience, for positivity, for being with my family, for experiencing life and really getting my spark back, which is, I think, a totally reasonable expectation if we do the right things in the right order. So I'm excited about that.
Cool. I think you're doing great work, and it's been awesome to be a part of helping you carve out what that looks like in your own way.
Yeah, it's been huge. Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, I appreciate your time today. I think we're good to go.
Awesome.
We'll wrap it up, y'all. Catch you later. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard and want to hear more, you can follow us on social media and tune in anywhere you listen to podcasts.